Hey everybody, well, it's nearing the end of the month, 9:50, February 28th, so I just figured I haven't had many videos on my channel for a while, so I want to do sort of a vlog update. I'm not really watching King of the Nerds anymore. I missed it on like the fourth week, and I didn't want to watch the next ones until I watched that one, and I just haven't really had any motivation to go onto tbs.com and check the episodes out there. I don't know if I'm going to in the end, but that's the way it is. The show was getting slightly better, but I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to it. I'm not sure. I have been focusing a lot on work, and I'm finally starting to get into the groove. I think I'm starting to feel better. I'm getting my first full paycheck at the beginning of next month, so that's awesome. I'm also getting paid from YouTube because of all the ad revenue. I'm getting my first payment through that, so that's also really cool. And in my free time, in between, once I finish with my work for the day, I've been playing a lot of video games. I've finally been able to actually sit down and play them instead of just sitting there and it's like, I should be doing this right now. I got to make sure that nobody comes into the room and sees me playing, because if they come in and see me playing, they're like, hey, why aren't you looking for work right now? But no, I can finally sit down and actually enjoy the video games I've been wanting to, which is a great feeling to be able to do, and actually play games that I haven't had a chance to in a long time. And one that I just recently finished that I hadn't played in a really long time, I never even got all the way through it, is Final Fantasy IX. I actually own 2 copies of this game. The other one is sitting right over there. You can't see it, maybe you don't believe me. But I own 2 copies of it. I bought it originally when it was new. I don't know if this is that copy of it. It's kind of torn up, so this might be that one actually, but I really liked this game. I thought it was really cool. It's one of the few Final Fantasies that I've actually played all the way to the end. The other ones would be Final Fantasy, the original for NES, which I actually have sitting on my shelf right over there. Final Fantasy 2 for the Super NES, although I don't think I actually finished that copy. I played it later. I played the Japanese translated version. But yeah, that still counts. So Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 4, and Final Fantasy Tactics I played all the way to the end, and Final Fantasy 7, and now Final Fantasy 9. I want to play Final Fantasy 13, but unfortunately my Xbox is red-ringed. So, oh well, maybe I'll have to get that when I get some bills paid down. For the most part, I really liked it. I thought the story was simple, but it was pretty well told. I liked all of the characters, which is surprising. I even liked Zidane. I liked him. He was actually kind of one character that I felt was sort of a blank slate, which I guess was sort of the point. He doesn't really know who he is, and you later find that out later that he's not really human. Of course he's not human, he has a monkey tail. I liked Dagger, even Steiner, who was kind of a sort of a simple-headed, this one-dimensional character with huge tunnel vision who just wants to serve his queen. He does that. You know that he has drive. You know that he's devoted to that kind of stuff. I really liked Vivi. Even Aiko. Aiko. I was actually toying around with that. Aiko. I imagine she talks like Vanellope Van Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph. You just look at those two and you just know she probably talks like her. But yeah, even Quina. Quina was a freaking powerhouse in terms of dealing damage, and I liked him. I liked it. But there are a couple of gripes with the game that it mostly stems from the systems they're trying to do with it. First of all, trance is bullshit. Trance is bullshit, and you know it. Everybody who knows what trance is, you understand why. Trance is almost completely pointless in the game. Ever since they kind of perfected the limit breaks in Final Fantasy VII, they were kind of toying around with desperation attacks in Final Fantasy VI, and then but Final Fantasy VII was the first one that really kind of got it perfect, where you take enough damage and then you get the limit break and you can deal an amazing attack, and then those level up on their own. And then Final Fantasy VIII, they had it where you get a higher chance of getting a limit break if you have low HP, which is very easily exploitable, or you could just put yourself into aura mode and get it immediately. So it's very easy to exploit limit breaks in Final Fantasy VIII. It makes it almost... you get them so often that they lose all their importance. And in Final Fantasy IX, they toyed around some more with doing the trance system. And you gain trance so slowly in the game, and there's no way to prepare to get trance at a specific time. You just really kind of have to get lucky. I suppose if you really work at it, you can try to make sure that you get trance at a particular time, like if you're fighting a boss, but I cannot imagine trying to do that deliberately. But every time you get trance, pretty much every time, it's wasted. There is no reason to have the trance in the game, because every time you get it, it's always in some random battle. It's never against a boss or anything. There's like, of all the like 30, 40 billion times I got trance, okay, I'm not going to exaggerate, maybe say you got a trance 100 times throughout the game, which is about right, 100, 150 maybe, you would get about 95 of them would be during a random battle. Which, yeah, it helps you fight the random battles, but the random battles are not that hard anyway, which I will be getting into when I talk about the next game I've been playing. But the trance is always wasted. Usually you get it at the end of the... like when there's only one enemy left and he's already half dead, and then suddenly you get trance. Well, and all the different characters have different trances. The good thing about trance is that it lasts for several turns, unlike the limit breaks, which you use in one and they're done. But the limit breaks, you could save them. You could save them until you actually needed them. You could do other stuff on your turn instead of use your limit break. You just took over your regular attack, and if you use materia, like you replace it with death blow or added attack, you can still do that instead and then hold on to your limit break. But in Final Fantasy IX, with the trance system, it's always any action you take when you're under trance, it uses part of your trance meter, even if it's something that you can do at any time. If it's using an item, if it's using just a magic spell. Vivi, when he goes into trance, he can cast double black, but what if you don't want to do that? What if you just want to cast a regular black spell? What if you don't have enough MP to cast the second one? I didn't run into that issue personally, but you just don't want to waste that stuff. Dagger, who is able to summon Eidolons instead of using the summon spell, it becomes the Eidolon spell. I really don't know what the difference is. The only one that really works out well is Adon, who becomes the Dyne ability. If you cast the Solution 9, it deals all 9's damage, it deals 10,000 damage, and it just annihilates enemies. I tried to use that against the bosses, which... It worked, but it's a pain in the ass to try to get that to happen consistently. The trance is just wasted, and oftentimes when you'll go to issue an order to the character, and he'll go into his ready stance, and then before he can do it, he gets hit, goes into trance mode, and then he takes the action that you cued him to do before you even put him into trance. And you already lose like 1/3 of the bar for doing that, probably even more. And so it's just stupid. It's just pointless to have that trance in there. I wish it was more like the limit break system, or just gotten rid of it entirely. I honestly would not have minded if they just left it out of the game. I might have complained that the combat was a bit simplistic, but it's a Final Fantasy game. The combat is not really supposed to be all that complex. And you have plenty of abilities and everything, which kind of leads me into the next point. The use of equipping items to get new abilities. I like that idea in theory, but it gets way too complicated to go through all your items and see what you can learn from them. Because different items will grant you different abilities to different characters. If the character can learn that ability, odds are they can get it from a particular item. But sometimes there's items that will only grant abilities to a character, or that list the abilities in that item, but you don't know which characters can actually learn them. So even if they're the same type of character, like Eiko and Dagger, who are both white mages that can summon Eidolons, the same item won't give them the same abilities. So you end up... And of course, once you throw these items out, if you sell them or whatever, you aren't sure if you can ever get that ability again. So what I ended up doing, I ended up keeping in my inventory at least one of every item, every weapon I ever picked up throughout the entire game. 4 fucking discs of items in my inventory, because I'm never sure if I'm able to learn a skill from a new item or not. So I just held onto every single weapon I ever came across, every single weapon, every single item. There were like 3 or 4 times in the game that I just went through all my characters, all 8 characters, swapped them out with the Moogle to swap between the different party members. I unequipped everything they had, and then just went through one character one by one to see which items they still could learn abilities from. And it is almost impossible to keep all this stuff straight. There's just so much, there's just so many items, and there's so many different abilities you can learn from them. A lot of items you can't even get. I played through the game without a guide, because I'm trying to play these games. I know there's some things you can get if you play through them a different way, but I am not trying to play through it perfectly. I feel that if a game is supposed to be played, you should be able to play it without a guide. You should be able to play it, and the game will adapt to your play style. In a modern game like this, you should not be able to get into any unwinnable situations. If it's well programmed, you should not be able to save and never be able to continue, never be able to beat the game from that save file. Like if you made a wrong decision at some point. So, okay, I got kind of off track again. So I was talking about items, and so yeah, I ended up saving one of every item I ever came across, because it doesn't say what skills you can learn in the menu, or what skills that they have set up. Like in Final Fantasy Tactics, it shows you what skills they have and how many job points you need to buy them, which might have been another good way to do this, is to use the AP system from that. But, I mean, I guess those are my only 2 main gripes with the game, except for one other. One other one is kind of a curse of playing through it without a guide, which kind of brings me back to that. There's so many times in the game where the narrative completely splits, and you're following a completely different party for like 4, 5, 6 hours. And these guys are fighting their own enemies, gaining their own level ups, and you fight through that through the end, and you have access to no other items. If you equip something that was really good on the other guy, but there was skills you could learn on it, too bad. He's over farting around doing something else in the other world, and you can't take that item off of him because the game didn't warn you, hey, you're going to be playing a new party for the next 5 hours. Would you like to unequip your party? And so you can use those skills on somebody else. No. They're out there gaining AP from enemies that is going to waste because you have nothing around, because you have a wrist that's teaching you, I don't know, steel. And that was annoying, but I mean, on multiple playthroughs you would sort of be able to figure that out, figure that stuff out. I know in Final Fantasy IV, you know, before you go into certain areas, you want to unequip a party member. Like before you walk into Eblon Castle, you want to unequip Tella because he's going to go beat up Edward and call him a spoony bard. And I think it looks better when he's beating up with his fist when you unequip a staff anyway, but yeah, it's sort of a recurring theme with these games, which Final Fantasy IX really kind of brought home, because it really is sort of a sequel to Final Fantasy I. It's practically a direct sequel, because it makes reference to Garland and the Four Fiends, which they called the Fire Fiend Malorus, which, I don't know what's more insulting, the fact that they made that translation error on a game this recent, or that I know how it happened, because originally she was called Marilith, and then you replace the L and the R and it becomes Malorus. Surprised they didn't call her Mallory. I think that'd be a nice name. But, yeah, basically, I did like Final Fantasy IX. It's one more to finally cross off the list of PS1 JRPGs, because I have a lot of these fucking games. I have a lot of these games to play. I got Brigandine, Azure Dreams, I got Jade Cocoon over there, I got Breath of Fire 3, which is actually one of my favorite PS1 RPGs of all time. Possibly one of my favorite RPGs of all time, because I just think it's really innovative, but that's a story for another time. Now, the other game that I've been playing. After I beat Bastion, and I played a bit of Minecraft, and I started playing Half-Life 2 again. Amazing game. I fucking love Half-Life 2. But the other game that I started playing right now is, your fanboys are going to get ready, Chrono Cross. Okay, stop squealing. I heard you. Chrono Cross, if you know me, you know that I was not very enamored by Chrono Trigger. I know, blasphemy. I thought Chrono Trigger was actually quite overrated. It did some interesting things, and the first couple of chapters, the first main storyline where you have to save Marley, and the princess shows up, so they didn't save her. The princess gets killed. Marley doesn't exist anymore. I thought that was fucking brilliant. But then after that, the game just devolves into they're just running around time. They're doing time travel, and nothing really is making any sense. It's almost too lighthearted for the subject matter of time travel and causality and all this stuff. Chrono Cross seems a lot more hardcore in that sense. And you end up going to this world where the main character died 10 years ago. And so he doesn't exist. His mom isn't around. Nobody in his village knows about him. So he's in this completely different world of what would happen if he had died when he was 7 years old. So I like the idea of it. I like the concept behind it. But this game seems brutally fucking hard. I mean, holy crap. The same way Spoony felt about the Persona series, this game is fucking brutal. This game is physically exhausting to get through the battles. I just stopped right now. I was in a battle for about 30 minutes. I finally checked my time. The save was at 54, and then when I saved, I just like walked to the side, and I got in another battle, and then there was a save point right after it. I got in that battle. It was kind of a boss battle, but when I saved afterward, it went from 56 to 18. No, it went from 36 to like 18. So that's like almost 40 minutes walking from the area and then getting into a battle. And that's almost 40 minutes of listening to that same fight music and thinking about all your actions and all your elements and everything. That is way too freaking long, especially coming off of Final Fantasy IX. We can get through the battles in about 40 seconds. Even though the screen transitions are pretty long, it's not that bad. But Chrono Cross, I don't know if I'm under-leveled, but these guys are kicking my ass. I've died like twice so far just trying to defeat these bosses. I'm trying to juggle around my different elements and my tech abilities, trying to make sure that my party is good, but is there any way to revive characters? I'm not that far in the game. I'm about 9 hours into the game, and I'm just going into the Hydra Swamp after you come back to the main world. And I saw Razlie, and then I just finished fighting those 4 dudes with the parasols. That was the 40-minute battle that I was in. Because those guys must have like 500 HP, which is ridiculous. That's like 5 times as much as my characters have. But I got through the battle without dying, at least. That's fine. But this game just seems brutally hard. And I'm trying to fight as many battles as possible. I'm trying not to avoid them because I'm noticing that I am getting my ass kicked by these fights. They're taking off like a third of my HP in a single hit. And then sometimes they attack you twice in a row because they have the same combo system you do. They're dealing like 38 damage, they're hitting you again for another 38 damage, and your health, and you're on the ground. So I'm liking the game. It has a really in-depth combat system. I'm liking it with the elements and the different colors and everything. But holy shit, this game is kicking my ass. So I'll power through it. I'll keep playing. But that's what's been going on with me so far. I've been rambling for 20 minutes. So thanks everybody who watches my channel. I'm getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, which is amazing. I really hope to do something special for that, but again, I'm working right now, so that's eating up a lot of my spare time, but I'm starting to get into the groove, starting to figure out how to juggle work and hobbies, because I've found time to play video games and do my working time. Maybe I'll get back to making some videos soon. No promises. I don't want you to get your hopes up, but work comes first, but play is starting to become a major possibility. So everybody take care. Thanks for supporting the last couple of years. Thanks for supporting the last couple of months with my lack of videos. And I also started a new website, sort of a Tumblr thing, wisdomofgame.tumblr.com. There's a link down below. Check that out. Some cool stuff. There's also a Facebook page. Go like it. Spread the word. Share some of the stuff. It's pretty damn cool. So everybody, thanks again. Take care. Happy gaming. Chrono Cross is kicking my ass. Take care, everybody.